Hello and welcome back to another week of Watching Washington. It's Friday, February 27th, and I'm Julia Moran. Here are the top stories of the week. President Donald Trump gave his State of the Union address Tuesday. This marathon speech ran 1 hour and 47 minutes, breaking the record for the longest in history. The president said the U.S. is entering a golden age, claiming the strongest and most secure border in American history. He also claimed to have ended 8 wars and is continuing an American-first policy, focusing on peace through strength. He also emphasized his plan to ensure Iran doesn't pursue building nuclear weapons.
My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
The speech also included several high-energy moments inside the House chamber. Loud cheers from Republicans accompanied visible pushback from Democrats. Trump closed with a sweeping patriotic message promising a brighter future ahead.
The golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
As is tradition, the opposing party gave a formal response to the president's address. Democrats argue that his administration has created chaos inside the federal government and weakened America's global reputation. The party's response came from Virginia Governor Abigail Spanberger, a former CIA officer who accused the president of putting loyalists in important roles and driving disruption.
Here's the truth. Over the last year, through DOJ, mass firings, and the appointment of deeply unserious people to our nation's most serious positions, our president has endangered the long and storied history of the United States of America being a force for good.
Spanberger also pointed to the tension during the address, with Democrats often staying seated as Trump challenged them during the speech. Democrats say they are focusing on oversight and checks on the administration, while Republicans say the president's agenda is working and they want to keep rolling heading forward into this year's midterms. In legislative news, the United States Supreme Court ruled that most of President Trump's emergency tariffs were illegal. Trump's tariffs were protected under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, but the Supreme Court stated the law does not actually protect tariffs. The act is meant to freeze assets during national emergencies. The tariffs were deemed an abuse of power and exceeded his authority. This led to many reactions from both the left and the right. Democrats introduced a new bill that would require the Trump administration to refund the tariffs. Trump responded to this in his State of the Union address.
Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful, country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in.
Looking internationally, tourists, including Americans, are stranded in Mexico after violence erupted following the killing of a major cartel leader. Mexican authorities confirmed that cartel leader Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, also known as El Mencho, was killed in a military operation. His death sparked unrest in several areas, with reports of fires, roadblocks, and disrupted travel. Some flights were suspended, leaving tourists temporarily stranded.
I think the worst is over at this time. Yesterday was definitely scary. It's like scenes out of a movie. Thank goodness I am staying a little bit north, about a 5-minute drive from La Zona Romantica, where everything practically unfolded in La Marina and the hotel zone. I'm way up. I was able to smell everything. I was able to hear everything. And this morning we just woke up with, I would say, air quality very bad.
Officials say some flights are beginning to resume, but travelers are being urged to check with the airline before heading to the airport. This week in Indiana, the government battles for the Chicago Bears. The infrastructure of the Chicago Bears Stadium, Soldier Field, has become a major issue. The stadium is one of the oldest still standing, but lacks many of the modern amenities other stadiums have. The Bears have been in talks of building a new stadium, but the high taxes in Illinois beg the question of its location. This week, Indiana unanimously voted to pass Senate Bill 27. This would allow Indiana to acquire both the land and finances needed to build the stadium. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is still hopeful the Bears may stay in Chicago. If the move takes place, the stadium will be built near Wolf Lake in Hammond, Indiana. Up next, the 4th anniversary of the war in Ukraine draws support from international allies. Also, a major snowstorm hit New York and what that means for the city. Stay with us. More Watching Washington next.
What does it take to be a Purdue tour guide? You've got to know your history. You have to know your facts. You've got to have that Purdue spirit. And you have to walk backwards.
If I could describe Boiler Scale DC in one word, I would say insightful. I've done a couple internships in DC, but this experience was different and opened my eyes into what other aspects of DC has to offer in networking and relationships as well.
If I could describe BGDC in one word, I would say eye-opening. I've been to DC a couple times before, but I have had nowhere close to an experience as immersive or as informative as the BGDC experience.
If you're interested in politics and you want to get into working in government, this is a good experience for you.
It was something I initially myself really wanted to do, but I know there were a lot of people that might be on more of the fence about it. And I truly think BGDC was worth every penny, every time I did a reflection. Absolutely worth it.
If I can describe BGDC in one word, it's life-changing.
The war between Russia and Ukraine passed the 4-year mark this month. The death toll for Ukrainian soldiers is at least 55,000, while Russia's toll possibly ranges from 243 to 352,000, according to Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky. Support for Ukraine has been seen globally, especially here in the United States. Vigils commemorating those who passed have been held all week. European leaders also expressed support for Ukraine, according to the BBC. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said Ukraine's allies must, quote, defeat the falsehood that Russia is winning. French President Emmanuel Macron held similar sentiments, saying this war is, quote, a triple threat for Russia. Zelensky recently had this to say during a European Union Parliament meeting.
Russians must learn that Europe is a union of independent nations and millions of people who do not tolerate humiliation and will not accept violence. Thank you. Please continue to defend the European way of life. Please support Ukraine.
Continuing to look abroad, reports spreading online are bringing attention to Prince Andrew and his continued legal and public controversies. Prince Andrew was arrested and questioned by British police on February 19th. They're investigating alleged improper conduct in public office with links to Jeffrey Epstein. Police stated the investigation is still ongoing and further updates will be released at an appropriate time. Looking at the U.S. abroad, the U.S. men's hockey team is garnering attention after their Olympic gold medal win in Milan. Among prominent celebrities and public figures, FBI Director Kash Patel attended the games due to his love of hockey. Patel drew attention for celebrating with the team after their win. A video obtained by CNN shows Patel drinking beer and wearing a medal in the team's locker room. Following this viral video, Patel said, quote, "For the very concerned media, yes, I love America." This comes after Congress investigated Patel for his alleged use of government funds for personal reasons. FBI sources say Patel was in Italy for other official engagements, using a Department of Justice jet for travel. In lighter news, a young monkey named Punch is capturing the hearts online after being abandoned by his mother at a zoo in Japan. Zoo officials say Punch was rejected and left alone by his mother, a situation that can happen in captivity. Images of the small monkey clinging to staff members and sitting by himself quickly spread across social media. Thousands have responded with sympathy, calling his story heartbreaking and expressing support for his recovery. Animal care staff say they are monitoring him closely and providing constant attention. The zoo says Punch is now safe and adjusting under professional care. The weather is notably intense this time of year. New York City is facing a new wave of severe winter weather, and its impact is felt across the entire Northeast. A major snowstorm continues to impact New York City, causing a large-scale power outages, icy roads, and transportation disruptions across the region. Although conditions remain dangerous, workers are clearing snow and restoring services. Air and rail transportation have also been affected, causing flight delays and cancellations throughout the Northeast. Officials are advising drivers to drive cautiously as many roads remain extremely slippery. Officials stated that although the storm is weakening, at-risk populations are advised to proceed with caution.
Though the storm may be over, that does not mean that the danger to vulnerable New Yorkers has passed. Please continue to keep an eye out for anyone at risk. An enhanced Code Blue remains in effect through Wednesday morning. Shelters will continue to operate with an open door policy. No one will be turned away. Outreach workers will continue canvassing across all 5 boroughs to bring homeless New Yorkers inside.
As the city continues cleanup efforts following the storm, residents are advised to stay warm and stay safe. Up next, we're taking a close look at international issues. Our in-studio guest this week is Purdue student Brianna Bautista. The full interview on poaching practices in Africa is just ahead on Watching Washington.
What is Purdue Night Train?
Purdue Night Train is a social dance club here on campus where we offer lessons and host social dances primarily with swing dancing, but we also do line dances and blues. Lindy Hop is a type of swing dance that we specialize in particularly, and it is a dance that originated in the late 1920s and early 1930s. It is a Black American dance that has its origins in Harlem, New York, and it's primarily danced to jazz music. You don't need a partner, you don't need any experience. We just ask that people come to meet people, have fun, and dance.
We're loud, we're fast, we are running a high-speed game.
Hello, this is Hurling.
This is the fastest game in the world. It's the fastest game on grass in the world.
The club's been around for almost 20 years now.
Yeah, we're your 2024 NCGA National Champions.
3, 2, 1.
So I am the president of the ski club. I'm pretty decent at skiing, I would say, but I still am cautious and reserved when I ski. And Copper, one of the other officers, was like, we're hitting this today. The last day, we're gonna do it, and you're gonna come up with me. He really convinced me, and we got to the top of the lift, and as we were going up the lift was literally like this. Then we get to the top, and I was angry. We're looking over this ridge and you can't see where the hill goes. You're looking over the edge and you don't see anything. Once I got over that little ridge and I was able to kind of see where I was going, once I got to the bottom, it was like a great accomplishment. If you want to have the time of your life, definitely check out Purdue Ski and Snowboard Club.
Baseball in general is just a fun group of guys that we're looking to play baseball at the next level, and it's a fun way to have some people come together and play a game we like. The guys that are a nice fit to the team as well as good at baseball, so that's really a big piece of the puzzle to joining the team, and you can get a lot of information just reaching out.
We have a special guest with us in the studio this week. Brianna Bautista is a Purdue student who studied abroad in Zimbabwe. While on her trip, she was introduced to the world of animal poaching, and she learned some surprising and eye-opening things about the practice. Let's go now to Watching Washington's Lily Johnson, who is standing by with this week's interview.
Thanks, Julia. Today I've got Brianna Bautista with me today to discuss the topic of animal poaching in Africa. Thanks for being here. So my first question is, can you explain to us what poaching is?
So poaching is the illegal trade and hunting of any species in Africa. A lot of the species are protected. A lot of the times they target some of the bigger species that have more valuable parts to them that they can trade and get a profit off of.
That's very interesting. Did you know anything about poaching before you went on this trip?
Before I went to Zimbabwe, I honestly had a pretty basic understanding of poaching. I knew what it was, and I knew the main issue with it was with elephants and their ivory, and the rhino horns. Those were the main things that came to my mind before the trip. And yeah, I didn't realize how big of an issue it was.
So kind of with that, what did you find the most surprising when you went on the trip, finding out something that you didn't know before?
Well, during my time there, we really got to engage with the community, and we talked to a lot of different people who had different perspectives on it. And it was interesting because we ended up getting to talk to two completely different conservation organizations that were really kind of on different ends of the spectrum for poaching. I really learned about how much of the community was involved in it and how it's much more than just the animals. A lot of the people poach as their only way of having an income, or they poach as their only way of getting food for their family. So it's not just like the main big species, it goes a lot with like their antelope and their little animals there that are still vital in the food chain for those bigger species to survive.
So since you did say that it was kind of influential on the community, are there any like laws or regulations that are within poaching, and how are those kind of handled in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, Zimbabwe has a lot of legal laws and restrictions for hunting and poaching of that nature. Poaching is strictly illegal, and you can do up to like 9 years or 10 years if it's repeated. So they take it very seriously. For hunting, they allow some hunting, but it's kind of like how the U.S. has a hunting license. There's a lot of regulations and like licenses you have to go through to get the permits to hunt. And still they're like very specific with what species and what guns you can use. Like they don't allow any automatic rifles or anything like that in the country to kind of limit the like potential to poach.
So since there are all of these rules and regulations, how is poaching still kind of a thing, I guess?
Yeah, it very much still is an issue that they face, and a lot of it has to deal with just how prevalent the wildlife population is there. And like I feel like unless you've traveled there or like kind of have seen the way that people live there, you don't really like fully realize how just how big of an issue having wildlife and having these big species that are dangerous and also just living in your community is. But it's a big issue with having like crop protection and having safe homes and having like a safe area for your kids and communities with all like there's not a lot of lions out during the day, but elephants are pretty prevalent there, and a lot of other wild species that are just in there around their homes.
So what are kind of the ways that they combat this? I know you said that there were like laws and regulations, but like to go with that, what happens when an animal does come in and like ruin crops and stuff? Is poaching the only answer, or?
A lot of people and a lot of the community members have that like frustration of where it's a like hard line to like respect an animal and understand that they need their space too, but also when you're living here and an animal is constantly causing issues in your life, a lot of people do take the measure and want to get rid of the animal, but of course there's heavy restrictions on that. So there's a lot of good like conservation organizations too that try to help communities, and I know there was testing. We got to talk to someone who was doing testing on like essential oils that can keep them away. Other times, like they try to resort to like more noise and like having them scared away like that, but then that can also have safety issues with them turning and charging the people too.
Yeah.
So there's definitely lots of ways that we can manage living next to wildlife and having those issues, but it just depends on like the resources and the community that is there.
So I know you said that you did kind of stay at a conservation and like work in that area. What kind of like poaching things did you see like for yourself, and what experience did you have? Yeah, so we got to stay at a lot of cool places, and in each place they kind of touched on poaching in their own way since it's such an issue. I'd say one place that we stayed at where it was really like a heavy focus, we ended up doing like a night drive. We went on it was a game drive to try to see wildlife encounters, but they own this like hundreds of acres of land that is all protected for the animals that they rehab and like keep on their property. And so we were out on a game drive, and we actually like they thought they saw signs of a poacher on their property. Oh, wow. Because they heard dogs, and they had no dogs on their property. So that was like a key that someone was there that wasn't supposed to be there. So that was kind of like a big realization for all of us on the trip, that poaching really happens at any time, and the people are heavily motivated to try to have a profit, and that they will use like a lot of other resources like the dogs. That was
a big realization of how like they can bring in other animals to help find animals.
Oh yeah. Is there anything about poaching that most people don't know about that you would want people to know about specifically?
Yes, I would tie it back to, I feel like the main thing that I learned through talking to all these people was that as much as it is an animal-focused issue, it is so much more about so much more about the people than just the animals.
Yes.
Because really it comes down to the like poverty levels in Zimbabwe and people not having enough funds or resources to feed themselves and their families, and having to resort to other measures to try to have a meal or to try to have profit. And also poaching, a lot of the times the people that are getting caught and arrested for like the killing of an animal, those really aren't always the people who are like the direct people who are like going to take the product and sell it or repurpose it. A lot of the times there's so many different like people that it goes through and so many different levels to it that the people that most likely do get arrested are not like the key people in the trade.
That is interesting. Could you tell me a little bit more about that topic or that process?
Yeah, so a lot of the times it's a lot of higher up people who will hire lower down people, and then they of course give them like a smaller cut of the profit. But a lot of the times it's people who struggle to have employment and people who just are looking for that like any bit of profit that can help them and their families. And a lot of the times the trading market for a lot of the poached items is very corrupted, and it is very like it's everywhere. It's even traded back into like ivory is just like such a classic example of people harvesting something from an elephant, and they'll like turn it into necklaces or bracelets or stuff like that and sell it back to the tourists. And I feel like that is just such like it's just so contradictory to go to a different country and to come back with a piece of an animal that was killed.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a big like tourist attraction, and like in those markets, even the people that are selling those things, they're community members that are selling to the crowd to try to get a profit for themselves. So it really ties into just having better governmental resources and places for community members to go to get help.
That is very interesting. I honestly did not know this much about poaching before today. So yes, I honestly need to look more into that. That is all the time we have today. Thank you for being here today and being our guest. And thank you for joining us this week on Watching Washington. We will see you guys next time.